Hello there. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Today I want to talk about what you hide can hurt you and about being brave and speaking up. I'm really piggybacking, honestly, I'm piggybacking today on the Bell Let's Talk initiative from yesterday, January 21st, trying to end the stigma about mental health. I was really challenged to come on and say anything today. And I noticed my confidence was really low, and I just had a whole lot of shitty messages going on about how I don't have anything really to say, or maybe what I'm saying doesn't really make an impact. And that really, I think, is a whole lot of the message of yesterday in dealing with mental health and to speak up and end the stigma. So a couple things I want to share with you today, much less scripted and a little bit more in the moment. Yeah. So what you hide can harm you. And here's what I mean by that. When you have crappy thoughts going on in your head, like I've had most of this week, just feeling, like I said, really low confidence, and that I must not have anything important to say, that I don't really bring value, or I should just play small, and that nobody's gonna like what I have to say. And I don't just mean like as in Facebook like. I mean that to make a difference to somebody. And I've had all this messaging going on this week in my head. And I got to today and thought, no, actually last night, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go live. I'm not going to do this. And sure enough, here I am. Because I think it's the whole point. See, when I hide those thoughts, in other words, when the thoughts, those kind of dark, nasty, crappy thoughts are running around in my head, they actually can grow. Think of it like a mushroom or mold in the dark, and it's damp and it grows there. And the minute that you take something nasty like that out of your head, out of the dark, and bring it into the light, okay, mold does not like to grow in sunlight. Mushrooms don't like to grow. Fungus does not like to grow in sunlight. Generally much more, well, not that all nature is not beautiful, but beautiful things grow in the light. And so my point is, when you have a bunch of crappy stuff going on in your head, it can really harm you. We only have our own perspective. So when you got all this crap going around in your head on your own, it's not working, and it can start to really, you only have your own perspective. So then we question, well, is that true? Well, maybe that's true. What if I don't have anything to offer? What if I don't have anything important to say? What if I just think I have something important to say, but it's not meaningful to anybody else? What if I really don't bring impact or create positive change in this world? Maybe I should just go hide in a hole. Like all of this ridiculous stuff going on in your head. When I bring that to the light, when I am willing to share that in some way, it just can't get the same kind of grip on me, okay? It can't have the same hold on me. So, like I said, I've been feeling kind of low, just low confidence this week. And I mean, honestly, sometimes you might know why you have low confidence, okay? It might be hormones. It might be you've had an emotional time at work, difficult time at work. Maybe something happened in your family. I'm fighting a cold, and for some reason I just didn't sleep well last night, so I'm tired. That can be it. But please know, if you can't actually trace back step by step why you're having a bad day, or kind of in a rough season, it doesn't make you less than, okay? Stuff happens. This stuff happens, and we don't always know why. But it doesn't make you less of a person, or less important, or less lovable, because it does. So I took some of these thoughts that I was having to some of my network, some of my amazing people in my life. and said, look, like I'm really struggling with confidence, and here's some other things I know about me. I'm not spending enough time with people. I'm an extrovert. That's where I light up. It's where I connect to life. And I started to isolate a little bit, and I know that's not really good for me. And some other things, and these people in my life are so great. They say, oh, Allie, okay, here's what I think. And bringing those thoughts to the light with some people that I know and I trust is just such a gift, because it gives me a perspective that is different from perhaps the one I'm holding, that challenges my thoughts, challenges my feelings, my beliefs, some of the stuff that's going on in my head. And whether you tell someone or people, or maybe just one person, maybe you just journal it. Maybe you bring it to the light so that it's out on paper. Even when it's just out on paper and you can reread it, sometimes that is the perspective that you need to say, wow, actually, no, some of that's not true, or I'm choosing not to believe all of this right now. Maybe that's what you got going on. Maybe it's through prayer or meditation that is by yourself, but it is with your higher power, God, whatever you call that. Maybe that's the way that you bring out some of this dark mold stuff and bring it to the light. Get some sunshine and some light on that thing, so that you can start to put some real perspective around it. So this is really, really important, and this is why I wanted to piggyback on the Bell Let's Talk Day and bringing more awareness to mental health, because we all have bad days, we have bad times. It doesn't make us bad people. I think that's just critical. It doesn't make us bad people. And we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. Did you know that? Like, our brains have over 60,000 thoughts a day. Not all of those thoughts are based in reality, and not all of them are positive. But that doesn't mean that you need to engage with those thoughts, or like have a full conversation, or invite it in the front door, or believe any of it. Our brains just have thoughts. Like, our brains are most unbelievable, incredible computing machines. And we can only consciously process about 10,000 thoughts, 10,000 of that 60,000 a day. So really, in a lot of ways, like, why bother? Why bother entertaining the crappy ones? Just why bother? And I know that sounds trite, because it can feel like really crappy when you're having that kind of a bad day. So there's something that a tool that I use, actually a book by Byron Katie, and it's called Loving What Is. And there's 5 questions that really help me in times when I'm having some of those overwhelming negative thoughts. And the first question is it true? So is this thought true? Well, of course, lots of my brain would like to say, yeah, it's true. You're not a good person. This is terrible. And you should stop Facebook living, and all these things. And the second question is it really true? Like, how do you know? How do you know it's true? Because often, a lot of our perceptions are not based in reality. And when we're really pushed to provide some hard data, it's not really true. And so there's that. And then, the other thing is, how does this thought make you feel? How does this thought make you feel? And it's like, when I have these thoughts, I feel completely crappy. Completely crappy. I literally want to cry. I do. Because I feel like, wow, I've been doing this for so long, and just right now in this moment, I feel like I have no confidence, and I feel like I've got nothing to offer, And it does really emotional, because this is really true for me, and I want this to be real, and this is one of the reasons I wasn't going to come on today, because this maybe needs to look more polished, and it maybe needs to look more perfect, and I decided, screw that. Actually, that's what I decided. Screw that. So, how does this thought make me feel? Well, it makes me feel crappy. Actually, it makes me feel like complete crap. So ultimately, what would I want to believe instead? I mean, I don't have the full 5 questions. I'm sorry. I've just gone unscripted today, but these those first 4 questions from Byron Katie from Loving What Is really, really, really helps me to put some of this stuff into perspective, along with bringing some light to these thoughts, okay? So that's another tool that I use. A third tool that I use is called a smile file. And I don't know if you've heard of a smile file or not, but it's essentially a file. It could be paper file folder. It could be digital on your computer somewhere, in email. And what I learned to do many years ago was keep a file folder of all of the positive comments. Some of them are testimonials, which are on my website, which I love, and thank you to all of you who were willing to do those. And some of them are just private messages that I get from people. And I've saved them all for days or weeks like today, where I'm just feeling crappy about my value in this world. And when I can open up that file and I can go and read some of the most incredible, loving, heartfelt messages that people have written me, majority of them unsolicited, it really helps. I'm not going to kid you, it really helps. So I encourage you to create a smile file. Have your own, so that, listen, you can either waste the day feeling crappy about yourself, and I guess it's not wasted, I don't mean waste a day, or you can spend half an hour going into your smile file and reading some of these to really boost yourself, turn yourself around and get that going. I think, again, relative to mental health, I have struggled with anxiety in my life. I've had 2 or 3 particularly overwhelming periods of depression in my life. Thankfully, that are no longer with me. And I think the more that we talk about this, it's about, we have to be brave and speak up. And that can be the hardest thing in the world. Social media, I think, is making some of that easier. Maybe keyboard courage is actually a good thing when it comes to sharing about mental health and sharing how we're feeling, because it feels a little bit safer. You know, it's a little more safer. It's a little safer to do it from a keyboard than it is maybe to do it face to face. So that's what I wanted to just say to you today is that when we hide things, that's when they hurt us. Mold grows in the dark. Some really crappy things grow in the dark. And just because you're having 60,000 thoughts a day and your unconscious is trying to process 10,000 of them doesn't mean you need to entertain the ones that come from the itty bitty little shitty club in there. Okay? It just doesn't mean that. You can let those go. And if you have ones that are sticking, that are occupying a lot of your mind or your feelings, that it's the isolation that creates. The isolation it creates when we start to believe that is toxic. It's terrible. Basically what you've done is, do you remember when your mother had like that, do you remember those like glass ecosystems? And they look like a glass mushroom or a glass, and you put the soil in the bottom and you water it and it just closes it in, creates its own little biosphere and just starts to grow and flourish. That's what happens when we keep this stuff in the dark. So it's really important to, and that's when it does the most harm. That's when it'll hurt you. Bring this stuff to the light by being brave and speaking it out. As I said, either through prayer with you and your God, your higher power. Meditate it, to meditate on positive thought. Journal it out, and if you are at all willing, be brave and speak up. Share it with one person. Share it with people in your network who you can say, look, this is what my brain's telling me is true. I need to bounce it off of you, and I need you to be straight with me. And sometimes there's some great feedback in there, and sometimes, it's just the perspective that you were looking for. So this is coming from a week, like I said, where just really low confidence, and I decided last night I wasn't even going to do this because I guess I had nothing to say. So I thank you for being with me and for listening. And I will post the link to the video that I did about 6 months ago about living with anxiety. I'll post it in the comments below. And I'd love to hear from you. I want to know I don't just want to know when you're great. I'm just going to say that right now. If you're here now, you're on my page, anything. I don't just want to know when you're well. I want to know when things suck. I want to know when you need support and how I can support you, to know that you do matter and that you have great value beyond what you can imagine in this world. If you have any comments about this, what you've done for your crappy days, I certainly don't have it all figured out. I don't have all the answers. But things that work for you, post it down in the comments, and I'd really love to hear from you. I'm sending you virtual love and belief in you and your value, and I want to encourage you to be brave and speak up. Thanks very much, guys. Have a great day.